This video is brought to you by John Robson Guitar Tuition. If you enjoy the content, please consider supporting the channel by enrolling on a course, purchasing some guitar lessons or a t-shirt, or you can join my Patreon. Now, on with the show. Hello chaps, welcome once again to John Robson Guitar Tuition. As always, I do hope you're well. Now then, a couple of weeks ago I did a video on like starter packs or beginner packages, you know, the ideal combination of guitar and amplifier and associated paraphernalia for the novice guitar player just getting their first electric guitar set up. And when I was making that video, I got kind of nostalgic for my first rig, if you want to call it that, which was this, a Woolworths Top 20 guitar plugged into the music centre, as we used to call stereos back then. In fact, probably even saying the word stereo is an anachronism these days because anybody under the age of 40 has only ever had a Bluetooth speaker for their phone. But anyway. So what I thought I'd do is I'd take a look at my first proper setup of guitar and amplifier and effects and so on that I had as my first gigging rig. Now, when I say gigging, I was about 13 or 14 years old and I was playing school concerts and local youth clubs and that sort of thing. So it wasn't like I was going out and being a professional with this kind of setup. So we're going to take a look at that and we're going to look at how much it cost me back in 1980 or thereabouts. And then we'll adjust that for inflation and see what kind of rig you can buy for that in today's money. Here we go. Okay, then the guitar that got me up on my hind legs in front of an audience for the first time was one of these, a Satellite Les Paul copy. Fairly typical late 70s, early 80s Les Paul copy style guitar from Japan, I think these were made. It featured a plywood body and a completely unspecified timber used for the neck. Who knows? The neck was actually bolt-on, and don't be fooled by those humbucker-looking pickups. They were actually single coils hiding inside fake humbucker covers. How do I know this? Because I took them apart one time, and the other thing that was instructive was the inside of those pickup covers actually had Pepsi logos on them. It was like obviously metal that had been recycled from old Pepsi cans to make the pickup covers. So there you go. The action was high, the fret buzz was plentiful, and if you needed an alternative tuning, no problem. All you got to do is wobble the rather loose neck joint and you get a whole world of other notes that the strings are now tuned to. So there you go. The amplifier I was using back then was one of these, a Laney Mighty 50. It had no channel switching, it had no effects loop, you just got bass, middle, treble and gain and a little switch labelled top that you could press to make it sound really fizzy and awful. Because you couldn't set two different sounds, a clean and an overdriven sound on the amp. I did do, I think, the first gig where I just used to have to run over to the amp and kind of crank the gain up and then go back and do me solo. That obviously wasn't going to fly, so I ended up getting one of these, a Coron distortion pedal. I'm pretty sure that mine said fuzz on it. I can't be sure, but this is the closest picture I could get to the one that I had, and it certainly looks the same other than saying distortion on it. It was a pretty commonplace pedal back then, and if I'm honest, I can't really remember the subtleties of the sound. All I can remember is that it made it sound all nasty and growly in a way that I kind of quite liked being, a teenager. Then, because the amplifier had no built-in reverb and I wanted that echoey sound, I came across one of these, a Melos. Is it Melos or Mellow? I'm not sure how that's pronounced, but I always said Melos back in the day. A Melos echo chamber, which was a tape echo, but it wasn't like the old kind of loop tape echo. There was a cartridge that plugged in the back, and you could buy replacement cartridges, I think from Tandy, which was the UK version of a shop called Radio Shack, which I'm sure many people will know. And that was my first ever gigging rig. Let's have a look at how much all of that cost me. Okay, then let's do some number crunching. Now, I can distinctly remember that satellite Les Paul copy cost £80 back in 1980. It was bought on the Never Never through me mother's mail order catalogue, K's or Great Universal or one of those. So much per week that I paid out to me Saturday job. The amplifier, that was, well, we didn't have eBay in 1980 or Gumtree or Reverb or anything like that. We had a local radio station that every week had a show called Tradio. And what you did was you rang the station and bought and sold things with other listeners. And isn't it weird how certain radio jingles kind of stick with you from your youth? And I can definitely remember that as part of the jingle for this show, it said you could buy and sell goods up to the value of £25, which is what I paid for the amplifier. There we go. The Coron distortion pedal I bought from a friend for £10, and the Melos echo chamber, well, I didn't buy that. That was as a result of doing what 13 and 14-year-olds do with their friends. They swap things and trade things, and inexplicably, I don't know what he was doing with it, but one of my friends had this Melos echo chamber, and he agreed to swap it with me for this handheld Space Invaders game that I'd got the previous Christmas and rapidly got bored with, and I think that's probably the last time I played a computer game, to be honest. So let's say the value of that was, let's just pluck a number from the air, can't imagine it was any more than £20, so that all adds up to £135. So let's head on over to the Bank of England inflation calculator to see what £135 in 1980 adds up to in 2019. I would do 2020, but as you can see, data for 2020 isn't available until January 2021. So these are the latest figures that we have available. That comes to a price in today's money of £583.26, which is, well, it seems a bit steep to me, to be honest with you, but I suppose there's a margin of error, and I suppose let's just round it down to £500. And, I suppose I didn't buy the guitar outright. I was kind of paying for it over 6 months or however long it took me to pay it off from my Saturday job, and I didn't actually pay anything for the echo chamber, so we'll say £500. Let's see what we can buy for that these days. Okay, the Les Paul copy I would probably go for in this day and age would probably be something along these kind of lines, the vintage V100 NBC-SB. If you shop around, you can find them for this kind of money on eBay and elsewhere, and even less if you go on the used market. But I think this is a nice looking guitar. That top there, obviously it's only a veneer, but it's a nice looking maple kind of wood that's on there. Would you call that curly maple or bird's eye maple? It's a nice looking piece of maple. But what I particularly like about it is the lack of binding. It sort of puts me in mind of this guitar a little bit, the Gibson Gary Moore Les Paul signature model. It's a nice looking guitar. What can I tell you? It appeals to me. The other thing I like about this is if we take a look at the back view of the guitar, let's have a look. There you go. Once again, not made from plywood. This is all mahogany and maple and everything, and not the cheap bolt-on neck that was on my old satellite Les Paul copy. And yeah, great looking guitar, and I've owned not this particular V100, but I have owned a vintage V100, and they are great guitars. So next up, we need a 50-watt amp. Let's take a look at what I've chosen. This is the Marshall MG50 GFX. Played through one of these a while ago. Great sounding amp, solid state. And, I no longer need to worry about the Coron distortion pedal or the Melos echo chamber, because, as you can see, I can switch between clean and overdriven sounds here. It has 4 channels. It also has reverb, chorus, flanger, phaser, octave, vibrato, multiple different types of delay as well. So, you've got, essentially all the pedals that I would have ever dreamed of owning back in 1980 and more. Now, the foot switch for this amp that comes included with it, it's nice that it does come with a foot switch. It does kind of annoy me a little bit when some amp manufacturers say, oh yes, here's an amp and it's got multiple channels or a couple of channels or channel switching. But if you want to do that, you have to pay extra for the foot switch. This amp does come with a basic foot switch that will allow you to switch between clean and dirty sounds. But if you want to switch on the switch between the effects and so on, then you're going to need this one as well. It's only another 45 quid, and it's probably well worth investing in to have with the amp. But if you didn't want to spend the extra money, if you just wanted a kind of basic clean dirty foot switching, then that comes with the amp. So let's add up some figures here. We're going to be spending 225 quid on the guitar, 259 on the amp, and let's say we go for the foot switch as well, 45. That's £529. It's a little bit over the £500 budget, but I'd say it's well within the margin of error that inflation calculator kind of builds into the system. So there you go. That would be the rig that the 14-year-old John Robson would buy if he was around in 2020. So there you go. There's certainly a bit of a difference in what your money in real terms will buy you today, isn't there? It kind of gives you a different perspective, having, had a satellite Les Paul copy and that awful Laney Mighty 50 amp. It makes you a little bit more forgiving of the minor flaws that you find in modern budget guitars. Oh dearie me, there's a bit of a flaw in the finish, or there's a bit of a glitch in the binding, or oh, these pickups aren't quite Seymour Duncan quality, are they? There's a little bit of muddiness in the top end. I used to have Plywood and Pepsi cans to play with. I'm never going to complain about the way budget guitars are nowadays. Nowadays, it's just, as I say, it just gives you a different perspective, and it was a fun comparison to kind of, juxtapose the two different eras of budget guitars, I thought. Anyway, that's pretty much it for today, folks. Hope you've enjoyed this little trip down memory lane with me, and if you have, please hit the subscribe button and the notification bell if you haven't already done so, and why not give me a like while you're at it. If you're interested in supporting the channel, then the links are in the description box below, and don't forget there's a competition running at the moment, where you can where you can win this rather fantastic Harley Benton British sound pedal. Basically an entire history of Marshall amp sounds all in one little box. The link to the contest video is in the description below, so just take a look at that video. I explain the contest and what you need to do to win that pedal. The contest is going to be running until I hit 19,000 subscribers on this channel, so you still got time to get your entry in, and I look forward to hearing it. And with that, I'll bid you all a good day and say thank you so much for watching. Thank you for your time. Look after yourselves, folks. Stay well, stay safe, and above all, stay sane. Oh, and don't forget the live stream, 5 PM UK time on Friday. See you next time, folks. Bye for now.